Before you buy your next planer, watch this first, because the wrong choice can ruin your lumber and your budget in a single pass. In this video, 7 of the best thickness planers go head-to-head, from budget-friendly workhorses to pro-level machines, and by the end, you'll know exactly which one fits your shop and your projects. Number 7. VEVOR Thickness Planer. This is a compact benchtop model aimed at giving you a lot of motor for not a lot of money. This planer runs a 15-amp, roughly 1800-watt motor, driving the Cutterhead at about 8,000 RPM, with a feed rate around 236 inches per minute. So on paper, it has enough muscle to chew through both softwoods and moderate hardwoods without bogging down. In use, that power is noticeable. It pulls boards through automatically and removes stock quickly, which is great when you are flattening rough lumber instead of babying every pass. The work table width is about 12.5 inches, with a cutting thickness range from roughly 0.2 up to over 6 inches, giving you flexibility for everything from thin panel stock to chunky table legs. The stainless and metal work surface helps boards slide more smoothly than cheap painted steel tables, and the infeed and outfeed supports do enough to keep shorter boards stable. For small home shops, the included stand is actually a nice touch because it reduces walking and wobble when you take deeper cuts, something you do feel on lighter benchtop units. There is also a dust exhaust interface meant to connect to a shop vac or dust collector, and when it is set up right, it keeps chips from piling up around the Cutterhead. The crank height adjustment and scale are straightforward, so dialing in a specific thickness is not complicated, even if you are new to planers. 6. VEVOR Power Benchtop Planers, 3-blade, 2-speed. This is a more advanced 13-inch model with a 3-blade Cutterhead and dual-speed capability. You are still getting a 15-amp motor rated around 2,000 watts, but here it spins up to roughly 23,500 RPM with a feed speed of about 236 inches per minute and a slightly wider 13-inch table. On the bench, that extra width matters when you are flattening wider panels or glue-ups, and the third knife makes the cut noticeably smoother than the 2-blade unit at number 7. The big advantage with this planer is the 2-speed gearbox, which lets you choose a faster feed for rapid stock removal or a slower feed when you want a finer finish. For jobs like dimensioning long construction lumber, the higher speed feels efficient. For hardwood tabletops or visible parts, dropping to the slower speed does reduce scallops and leaves a cleaner surface. The 13-inch work table extends to support longer boards and uses a cast iron and steel structure to keep things flatter and more stable under load. Dust management also improves here, with a built-in dust port adapter sized to hook up to a vacuum or collector and keep chips from clogging the Cutterhead area. Safety and reliability get a boost from overload and short-circuit protection, so if you overtax the machine, it shuts down instead of burning itself out. For most hobby shops, that combination of width, 3 blades, and dual speed makes this feel more like a serious planer than the previous VEVOR. 5. Craftsman Planer CME W320. This is a 12.25-inch benchtop planer that has become a bit of a go-to for value-focused woodworkers. It runs a 15-amp motor and spins the Cutterhead at around 8,000 RPM, delivering roughly 16,000 cuts per minute with a 2-knife setup. In practice, that gives you confident stock removal and a decent surface on common hardwoods like oak and maple, as long as you resist the temptation to hog off too much at once. The maximum board width of about 12.25 inches hits a sweet spot for many small shop projects, whether you are flattening cutting boards, face frames, or smaller tabletops. Craftsman's 4-column elevation system keeps the Cutterhead stable as you adjust height, which translates into fewer surprises in cut depth from one side of the board to the other. The Poly-V belt and chain and sprocket feed system are designed to transfer power efficiently and hold up under regular use, giving the planer a more solid tool room feel. One of the nicer touches on this unit is the quick change Cutterhead. The 2 high-carbon steel knives are double-edged and reversible, so you can flip them when they dull and extend their life. When you are running a lot of stock, and you start to feel the cut quality degrade, that quick change system saves time and keeps you working instead of tearing the machine apart. Depth settings are straightforward to dial in, and yes, it does allow you to select specific thicknesses with enough precision for cabinetry work. Number 4. WEN PL1326. This is where the list starts to get serious about cut quality. This 13-inch benchtop planer uses a spiral-style cutter head loaded with 26 staggered, rotatable HSS blades, which dramatically changes the way the machine interacts with your lumber. Instead of 2 long straight knives taking big bites, you have many small inserts shearing the wood in tiny overlapping cuts, resulting in a noticeably smoother finish and less tear out, even on tricky grain. Power comes from a 15-amp motor that spins the cutter head at about 10,000 RPM with a feed rate around 26 feet per minute. That combination feels well balanced in use, fast enough to move stock efficiently, but not so aggressive that the spiral head loses its finesse. The planer can handle boards up to roughly 13 inches wide and 6 inches thick, which covers almost any benchtop scale project, from cabinet doors to butcher block countertops. WEN includes an onboard material removal gauge that tells you how much you are shaving off in each pass, so you are less likely to overdo it and strain the motor or cause tear out. There's also a depth stop and adjustable dust port, making it easier to hit repeatable thicknesses and hook up to your dust collection system. In practice, these little convenience features add up. You spend less time guessing and more time actually milling usable stock. On the board, the PL1326 impresses with the smoothness of the surface it leaves. 3. Dewalt Benchtop Planer DW734. This 12.5-inch thickness planer is built around a 15-amp motor that delivers about 20,000 RPM at the motor and 10,000 RPM at the 3-knife cutter head, yielding roughly 96 cuts per inch. In practice, that translates into a very fine surface finish compared with typical 2-knife planers, especially when you take moderate passes on hardwoods. The planer has a depth capacity of about 6 inches and a maximum cut of 1/8 inch, which is more than enough for flattening rough boards while still maintaining good control. Dewalt's 4-column carriage lock system helps keep the cutter head stable under load, which is one of the reasons this planer is known for consistent thickness and reduced snipe when properly set up. It is a heavy machine at around 80 pounds, and that weight actually works in your favor by soaking up vibration and keeping the unit planted on the bench. Out of the box, the DW734 typically includes a dust hood, allowing you to connect it to a vacuum or dust collector and tame the significant volume of chips it produces. The 3-knife design not only improves finish quality, but also extends knife life by spreading the workload across more cutting edges. When it is time to change blades, the process is straightforward, and replacement knives are widely available, a big plus for long-term ownership. In use, this planer feels like a reliable, predictable tool that simply does what you expect every time you feed a board through. 2. Dewalt Thickness Planer DW735X. This is a 13-inch 3-knife 2-speed thickness planer that many consider the gold standard for serious hobby and small professional shops. It uses a 15-amp motor running at about 20,000 RPM with a cutter head speed around 10,000 RPM, giving it the muscle to handle larger, deeper cuts in wide hardwood boards without bogging down. The cutting width is 13 inches with a depth capacity of about 6 inches and a max cut of roughly 1/8 inch, so you can handle wide panels and substantial stock. One of the defining features here is the 2-speed gearbox, which allows you to choose between about 96 cuts per inch for faster stock removal or 179 cuts per inch for an ultra-smooth finish. In practice, that slower feed setting produces a surface that often looks and feels remarkably close to sanded, especially on straight-grained hardwoods. The 3-knife cutter head also claims about 30% longer knife life, and the design makes knife changes faster and easier, a real benefit when you run a lot of material. Dewalt packs in convenience and accuracy features like a material removal gauge, an oversized thickness scale, and a large turret depth stop so you can quickly return to frequently used thicknesses. The DW735X package typically includes infeed and outfeed tables, plus an extra set of knives, which add board support and long-term value right away. The machine itself is heavy and robust, with a strong housing and 4-column support that help maintain consistent cut depth and reduce snipe. Number 1. FindBuyTool Benched Wood Thickness Planer. This is a 13-inch benchtop wood thickness planer with a helical cutter head, a machine that combines many of the best traits of the others into one very compelling package. It runs a 15-amp, 1800-watt motor at about 10,000 RPM and offers a feed rate around 330 inches per minute, giving you both speed and a very smooth cut thanks to the spiral design. The planer can handle up to 13 inches in width, roughly 6 to 6.25 inches in height, and about 1/8 inch maximum depth of cut, matching or exceeding the capacity of other benchtop units on this list. The star of the show is the Helical Cutterhead with 4 rows of 40 tungsten carbide insert knives. Each small insert takes a tiny bite out of the wood in a shearing motion, dramatically reducing chatter, tear out, and overall noise compared with straight knife setups. In practice, this means boards come out with a surface that often needs very minimal sanding. Even difficult hardwoods like maple and walnut come through with clean, consistent grain and far fewer problem areas. Precision is another strong point. The FindBuyTool planer includes a raised lower handle that allows fine adjustments, a clearly visible thickness scale down to about 0.1 millimeters, and a depth of cut indicator so you always know exactly how much material you are removing. There is also a locking lever that secures the cutter head position for repeat passes, which is especially useful when you are batch milling parts to the same thickness. Final thought. That's all for today, folks.